Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Wes Pruitt. I got Ashton Miller in here. I got Blake Hogan here. Plus, I'm sorry, Ashton Wilson. I'm sorry, Ashton. I apologize. I'm going to get your last name right. I promise you I will. Plus, we've got a very special guest. So we're going to go ahead and bring her in now. Her name is Miss Katie Pate, and she comes from App State. She's a very good friend of the show, and she watched another incredible football game tonight. Katie, how are you doing?
Can you guys hear me okay? I'm driving.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We
Yeah.
can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, well, you're catching me. I have almost no voice, as you can imagine. I have a little bit of a problem on the sidelines because I can't keep my mouth shut. So all I did was scream and yell at this game. But super excited to be on with you guys. It's been too long.
It's been a while. You watched an absolute barn burner tonight. North Carolina knocked off App State 40-34 in two overtimes. You watched a quarterback thriller between Drake May and Joey Aguilar. Aguilar being 22 of 43 tonight, 275, two tutties and a interception, and then Drake May 21 of 30, 208, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So, Katie, real quick while you're driving, of course. Talk about just the quarterback performance that you watched tonight.
You if you take it back to last year when we first saw Drake May come onto the scene, um, you knew that he was wise beyond his years. Just an exceptional leader on the field, um, incredibly athletic, fast, agile, slippery. All the things that you would use to describe a great quarterback. You can understand why his name has been kicked around in the Heisman conversations. And then, of course, on the other side of the field, you see Joey Aguilar, who's just in, we'll call it in his not his full second game, but playing backup to Ryan Berger, who was announced the starting quarterback last week against Gardner Webb University, only for Ryan to go down and with a broken finger, um, maybe second or third snap of the game, and Joey have to step in. And I'll tell you the thing that I really like about Joey, guys. So you're talking about a JUCO kid out of California. He's got swagger. He's tough as nails. Doesn't matter if he was at the JUCO level or at the Division III level. He's been there before, right? So you knew that he was able to step up on a big stage. He looked comfortable. He looked confident. Certainly his teammates are responsive to him. I think we got a good thing right there with Mr. Aguilar. It was a great, just a great battle of wits between those two QBs today.
Real quick, Katie, talk about the rushing attack. I mean, a lot of yards on the ground tonight. 319 from North Carolina. Had a 100 yards advantage over 219 of App State. App State used five rushers for an average of 5 yards per rush. Only had a long of 18. Talk a little bit about the running on the ground tonight.
Yeah. I think it starts really with the line and creating the gaps for our guys to get into. And you saw a lot of shoulders being dropped. You saw a lot of grinding. Of course, Nate Noel really is the premier guy with the boots on the ground. But we saw a lot of attack from a bunch of different guys, and really encouraging. I think moving forward as we head deeper into the season, just to see multiple threats. Just I thought the line did a great job providing opportunities and a couple little bit of offensive wrinkles that we didn't see last year. With Chase Bryce at the quarterback, just an exceptional leader. We got it back. We got back to a little bit of the running game that App State is known for.
So, Katie, when you look at the rest of the season, give us a little bit of a preview for what we may see from this App State football team.
Yeah, so we're coming this next game coming up. Not sure if you guys were checking in on any of the G5 scores. Marshall University really put it to East Carolina, who we have next week. And for anybody that's been around for a really long time, they know that App State East Carolina rivalry is fierce. Of course, ECU went to the FBS a decade before we did, so they've had their teeth in the FBS level for a while. But that's really going to be a great testament for the Mountaineers. Get home in front of the home crowd. We're expecting 40,000 plus, the same type of crowd we saw against North Carolina when they came up the mountain last year. Should be a great game. But as you guys know, if you dig into that schedule for the remainder of Sun Belt Conference play. Of course, we got to go to Wyoming. I don't want to talk about Wyoming. I got to go out there for 5 days. They look freaking amazing. I watched the first or second half last week when they went double overtime against I think it was Texas Tech. That's a story for another day. But the Sun Belt Conference schedule, I put these team up against just about anybody. Obviously, saw JMU beat Virginia. We all knew that was going to happen. But some other great games in the league, and it's there isn't a gimme within 50 miles, within 500 miles. Conference play is just going to be brutal.
Talk a little bit about Andrew Parker Jr. So Andrew Parker, being a Razorback guy myself, he was a guy who really didn't get onto the field much for the Razorbacks. But I see he stepped in. He had a big night tonight. Looks like 12 total tackles, 8 solo tackles. What does he do for Appalachian State on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, we talk about kids coming out of the portal, and you think about transfer situations and where you got to remember, even if someone did get on the field, they're pretty just against those bigs every single day. And it's just great preparedness. So for him to be able to get on the field, he's been there. He's on the SEC practice field every single day. So there's nothing that he didn't see back then that he didn't see today that he wasn't already prepared for. It's one of the greatest strengths of the portal, when especially you've got kids hitting G5 and coming this way. The people that they're practicing against every single day, just that grind. That's the one thing I like about Arkansas teams in general. I know we've talked about Arkansas basketball, we talked about Arkansas football. It's just blue collar stuff. He brought every single bit of that to the mountain, and that's exactly what we're looking for.
Most definitely. Katie, well, just real quick before we let you get out of here, how can everybody follow you on social media, and what are some things you got going on out there at the mountain?
So social media, the typical, since we spoke last time, Twitter doesn't exist anymore. So Twitter/X. It's at Coach Katie Pate. Mostly I just retweet videos of myself yelling in the background at football games. But between that, there's some Instagram stuff floating around. Honestly, guys, I have not gotten into Threads. I have Threads. I don't really know how to use Threads yet. But, we're excited to get our fans up here for that East Carolina game, represent that west side of the state, east side of the state rivalry. I'll pop up on some podcasts every now and again, and we'll just keep celebrating what the Mountaineers are doing and celebrating high mid-major football, upsetting Power Fives.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm excited every year as a Razorback fan not to see Appalachian State on the schedule. So.
I see the normal things. Everyone's like, I don't know why people keep scheduling them. I don't know why. Well, it's fun. It's fun, and I hope they keep scheduling us. Next year we go to Clemson. Ooh. In 2025. We have NC State at home. So it's, the rivalries in South and North Carolina are really, really important to App State athletics. And it's great for the fans. Let's be honest. More than anything else, it's just great for the fans. Our footprint is strong. And as we know, and I'm beginning to figure out in real time, that upset that took place in 2007 against Michigan, it changed something about the Mountaineers, because you can't ever count them out. So today was a great example. Although we fell just a little bit short, it was a heck of a ride for everybody at Kenan Stadium.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Katie, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We didn't want to take a lot of your time up. We know that you're driving back.
It's good. I can see you guys, but it's raining here, so I'm going to jump off. But I appreciate you as always.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Katie Pate from App State joining us tonight. Guys, she is absolutely incredible. Gonna jump over real quick, guys. We talked about it last week. Thoughts on week 2. When you really look at it, Colorado continued to play primed. They won today 36-14. Now, first quarter was 0-0, and then from there, Colorado just kind of cranked it up a little bit. Shador Sanders, 31 of 42, 393 yards, 2 touchdowns, 74% passing, 9 rushers today for 72 yards. But the passing, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 different receivers, 32 passes to 9 different receivers. I mean, that's pretty well spreading it out. Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, and I think if I saw it right, that Sanders is the first quarterback, maybe the first quarterback in history to throw for 900 plus yards in his first ever. Well, I guess in his first 2 games of a season. That's just absolutely impressive. And it didn't look good at first to start the game, but as the game progressed, he just got more and more comfortable. And there's another day for Dion to talk his team up. I mean, the more you win, the more you can talk. And remember how it kind of takes me back to, if you don't want to see us dance, keep us out of the end zone. That Dion's team keeps winning. They keep having success, and he's going to keep talking.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I was just saying, teams need to quit giving bulletin board material to Shador. Last week it was apparently Kendall Briles at a camp. He kind of shrugged him off, didn't want to talk to him, so he was motivated against TCU. And then Matt Rule made comments in the offseason about Dion. So it's just motivation for all these players. So, if you're playing Colorado, don't give them any extra motivation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can. And one thing that I've really Jeff Sims, that guy's got feet for hands, man. I don't know how. I mean, he just drops everything. It's just horrible timing. But that is one thing this Colorado team did today is they pretty well made them pay for every mistake that was made.
Yeah, watching the game, it seemed like every drive that Nebraska had going, any type of positive action that they had, it was followed up real quick by a bad snap. Jeff Sims just couldn't simply just catch the ball on a snap. Poor handoffs. There was one particular handoff where Jeff Sims goes to hand the running back the ball, and he short arms it, and the running back ends up slapping it out of his hand. It just whatever Nebraska could do to shoot itself in the foot today, they managed to do it. Whether it was from fumbles to drop passes to Jeff Sims interception, and Sims is a transfer out of Georgia Tech. This is new territory for him being at Nebraska. Matt Rule being there, Jeff Sims trying to get a fresh start, and it's just not going very well for him.
I think the experiment should be over because the last week against Minnesota, I think it was not very good offensively, and this week again not very good offensively. So you might need to make a change.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, Matt Rule, first-year head coach there as well. I like the Matt Rule hiring personally. I think Matt Rule is a good coach when you look at him from a historical standpoint, from Temple to Baylor. I mean, what he did at Baylor was just sheer genius, to be honest with you. But I mean, I think with time, I think he can definitely make some changes. Speaking of making changes. Guys, we gotta make a change to the Nick Saban and who has defeated him list, because Steve Sarkisian and Texas has now taken down Saban in Alabama after a 34-24 victory tonight. We're gonna probably spend a little bit more time on this than we did the Colorado portion, guys. But when you look at this football game, I did not watch it in its entirety, just full disclosure before we get cranked up here. But just from a looking at it standpoint, Texas with 454 total yards, 349 through the air. I mean, just immediately, when's the last time Alabama's given up 349 yards through the air?
I got to go back a ways. I guess in the past couple years, I've kind of seen a trend for Alabama football. For whatever reason, it's not for lack of recruiting by any means. Even a few years ago, KJ nearly went in and beat Alabama and had a great game. threw the ball all over the place. And tonight you saw Texas, you saw Quinn Ewers throw the ball all over the place. And we all thought, in my opinion, I thought it was going to be Xavier Worthy who had the biggest game, but it turned out to be Jatavion Sanders and Adonai Mitchell for Texas. And so he had three different receivers have 75 or more receiving yards. There was no answer for Alabama tonight. And we're not used to seeing that from Nick Saban coach teams.
And I think that's the first Nick Saban assistant to beat him at Alabama. So, it's a big time.
I mean, I don't want to say I called it. I did call it.
But, you did. I was very wrong. Very wrong. Very wrong.
Man, I mean, it's just obvious. I mean, everything just kind of falls into place. Of course, Texas had this game scheduled. It was when you look at last week's performance against Rice, it was quite obvious. They were prepared for Alabama. They weren't prepared for Rice. They didn't think one iota about Rice. But I mean, when you look at it today, there was, 29% of Texas plays were passing downs. They hit 10 big plays tonight of 290 yards. Bama hit 14 for 327. It's everything is. Third down. There were 7 of 18 on third down. Average third down distance to go was 5.9 yards. Bama's was 9.5. First down total yards. Texas 246 on first down. So definitely made some headways first down. But when you look forward now, guys, of course, the big thing is Texas is now coming to the SEC. So as a couple of guys that are big SEC guys, let's go ahead and have this. Let's start having this conversation because it's going to be had many more times between now and then. How does this look for the SEC for Big Bad Bama to get knocked off by Texas before Texas is getting ready to come in?
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I think it's actually good for the conference because if you look around, the SEC is pretty weak right now. Top to bottom, it's not a strong conference. So maybe bringing in some new teams would, maybe improve some of those teams. Maybe Bama will sit down and get better. As weird as that is to say, but if Texas next year, that might be a top 3 team in the SEC. I think Texas is going to fit right in. I don't see any transfer. It'll take them 2 years to get used to the SEC. They went to Alabama and beat Bama. Arkansas hasn't done that, and I don't know, since I was in second grade or something. But
it's been 16 years now, I guess. Since I think it was 2006. I guess was what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So I think Texas is ready. They got a heck of a quarterback room, and they're going to get the athletes from Texas because they don't want to go to A&M, So,
true.
So.
Yeah, I think of all the between Oklahoma and Texas, that Texas seems to be the more prepared team to transition into SEC football. That's not to say that Oklahoma isn't ready. I just believe that Texas is the more prepared team right now. Of course, Sarkisian has had a little more success, obviously, than Coach Venables over at OU has had. But I think OU, give Coach Venables some time, OU will be ready as well. Missouri, when they came over, it took them a little bit. Now, Missouri's not quite on the level of Texas and OU, if you were to ask me, but they've been a respectable opponent every year. Heck, they beat Arkansas several times. But if you're a kid in the state of Texas or the state of Oklahoma, because Texas, if we're being honest, they go into the state of Oklahoma and get a lot of recruits. Texas is right now in the state of Texas is the place to be. A&M's not the place to be. Although you can go talk about the number one recruiting class for A&M all you want, they don't produce. They haven't been producing. And if bringing in Bobby Petrino, they put 33 points on the board today and still managed to lose the game by double digits. That's not a good look, and that's not on Bobby Petrino. If you ask me, that's is Jimbo the problem? We don't know, but TCU struggling, Baylor's struggling, mightily struggling. Texas Tech, they look decent tonight, but they end up getting beat. Texas is on the up and up, and going into Alabama and beating Alabama just shows everybody that Texas will be a force to be reckoned with in the SEC. And I don't want to play them, but we're going to have to play them as Arkansas Razorbacks. But right now, that's not a team I want to see on my schedule.
Yeah, and one thing that really stood out to me too is, when you go back and look at the two teams and their scoring drive, right? Bama had one drive, 12 plays, 51 yards. Other than that, at 8, 7, but they really didn't eat a lot of clock. But then when you flip on it and go to the other side, then you look at Texas. 6 minutes off the clock, 3.5. They kind of ate a little more clock tonight. If Oklahoma were to have, say, a LSU schedule this year, right? Obviously we know they don't. Say they were to knock off LSU. I think that would just be a huge statement for both these programs coming into the SEC. Because Blake, to your point, the SEC does look, a tad bit weak, and we're getting ready to jump into two teams, one of which in Arkansas that looks really weak, and the other one another team played tonight from Arkansas that looks just defeated, to be honest with you. Yeah. But let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. Arkansas started their home stretch today against Kent State, 28-6 win. They say a win is a win, right? So Blake, I'll start with you, man. Mm-hmm. Give me your thoughts on today. I know it's kind of fresh still. It's almost 11 o'clock at night, but it's still kind of fresh. Mm-hmm. Give me your thoughts. How do you fix it?
It was a disappointing win. I expect, we saw Kent State, look very sad last week against their game against UCF. And so Arkansas fans expected a lot of points, a lot of highlights, and we did not get that. We had 12 yards of offense with 12 minutes left in the second quarter. Okay, it was very disappointing. With Enos, we thought he would have a better game plan. Last week, he tried to get KJ in rhythm at the very beginning. He went 12 for 12 last week. But, this week they tried to get the run game going, and it did not go anywhere. So that caused the offense to get out of rhythm, and then it was, now second half was better. I don't think we had any penalties in the second half, but you should beat Kent State by more than what you did. Just a very disappointing day. I'm okay with the win, but offensive line needs help, and we got one more tune-up game, so to speak, against BYU. It's going to be a tough game, but after that, you got them four games away from home against top SEC teams. So offensive line needs to get it together and figure out what's going on. It's not, people are going to blame Rocket for not being there, but it didn't matter if he was there or not. That running game was not going anywhere.
So Ashton, my question is this, man. 45 rushing attempts. 45 rushing attempts, 172 rushing yards. That computes for the mathematicians out there to 3.8 yards a rush. One rushing touchdown today. If you'd have told me that Arkansas would have ran for one touchdown and only averaged 3.8 yards a rush, I would have probably laughed at you, at least chuckled in some way, shape, or fashion. against the Kent State team that we talked about it just a few nights ago, guys. I mean, only had 4 returning players, offense, defense, and all of that was on defense. I mean, I mean, we understand there's offensive line issues, but Rocket being out, I mean, we saw Arkansas use um, 4 different rushers today, with Green being the leader, 15 rushes, 82 yards. DeBinion, 10 rushes, 34 with that touchdown on a very what I felt like was very throwback formation, the old wing T formation. But Ashton, speaking of the running game, man, how does Arkansas get this going and going quickly, because you're getting ready to get into SEC play?
Well, I'm kind of discouraged. Winning 28-6, I was not thrilled watching the game. I've seen that there's no push in the middle. If you notice, there were a lot of plays where we would bring the receiver in motion to the opposite side of the formation, snap the ball, and KJ would run off tackle the opposite direction. The reason why he was running off tackle is because he could not run the ball up the middle. There's no push. Sam Pittman said it. We got 2 tackles. We got tackles. We don't have anybody in the middle, and we should, but we don't. We're not getting any production. Tykeus Crawford is just not getting any push. Latham, who I would have definitely thought was getting push, is not getting push. And the other guard position, I can't remember who it is, but we're not getting any push there. And so we're purposely, even when we were in the dead tee, we didn't run the ball up the middle. We ran the ball off tackle to the right. We can't get any push, and it worries me because we're going to play a better team this coming week at BYU, regardless of what their record is or what stats they have at this point. It's BYU. They're going to be well coached. They're not going to be a pushover. And if you thought today was tough, this next week's going to be tough, and then the following week it's going to be even more tough. I will tell you the one thing I'm encouraged with. The one thing I'm encouraged with is, even though the offense did not come to play football today, the defensive side of the ball, those guys are they're flying to the football. They are hungry. They want to show everybody that they are a much improved defense. That they have made some progressions in the offseason, and my goodness, we're talking about a roster on the defensive side that is pretty much overloaded with transfers, and they look good. But the thing is that the negative is we got good receivers. Poor KJ just doesn't have a whole lot of time to give him the football right now.
Yeah. And I will add, the offense only scored 21 because we had a pick 6. So, I mean, scored 21 on Kent State's not very good.
I think here's a area of concern. I did not see, other than the defensive side. The defensive side looked inspired, but I didn't see an inspired offensive side. I didn't see anybody excited about being out there. I saw guys like Tesla making plays, Haas making plays, Armstrong making plays, but I didn't see any running backs excited. I saw AJ Green wanted the football, but he just wasn't getting a whole lot of push from the linemen. Yeah. So you're trying to make everything happen on your own. It just doesn't work. Yeah. And huge concern, and Blake's gonna agree with me on this one. You're on the half-yard line, 6-inch line. Yeah. You're lined up in the dead tee. Snap the freaking ball and score the touchdown. Instead, we get a 5-yard delay of game penalty. Yeah. How does that happen? How does no offensive coach? How does the head coach? How does nobody see that the play clock is about to run out and you not call a timeout? That, to me, Sam Pittman has been a head coach now long enough to know not to make that mistake. And he will tell you that he was outcoached. That is not a good look for the Razorbacks.
Well, you don't ever even get in that situation. But I can someone please, for the life of it, please, just real quick before we move on. Why do you what is I understand analytics, whatever. If it's 4th and 1 and you've got a 250+ pound quarterback, why on God's beautiful green earth are we lining up in shotgun? Man, get behind center, put your hand on the butt pad, tap the butt pad, snap the football, and just lean on him and go forward, and you're going to get a yard.
Well, here I'll tell you what's going on, Wes. What's going on with that is Pittman wants to show that he has faith that his guys can get pushed. And now that we've seen it enough, his guys can't get pushed. And so what we hand the ball off, and when we handed the ball off, not only did our running back, or not only did our offensive line not get any push, our running back went east and west instead of north and south, and we lose 2 or 3 yards and turn the ball over.
Yeah,
that just can't happen.
Ashton and I were texting first quarter, like, make a cut and go upfield. They was going, go north and south. And in second quarter, that's what they did on that first drive, and they gained like 10 yards and then 15 yards on those next 2 runs. So, I mean, I don't know. It just, they didn't seem, like Ashton said, it was not very inspired football on the offensive side at all.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are going to have a lot more to say about this coming up this week on Hogs Happy Hour.
Hogs Not So Happy Hour.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell that both of y'all got, I think, some things on your chest to get off this week about this game with Kent State. But moving forward with Arkansas, I mean, you got BYU coming to town, first time ever coming to town to Fayetteville. A little bit of history. Really good football game last year out in Provo. A game that many Arkansas fans will remember because they cranked up the offense. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of fun on the show this week to talk Arkansas football against BYU. Moving over to the next game real quick, guys. Memphis took on Arkansas State tonight.
And absolutely dominated.
I mean, yeah, we did. I mean, 3-0 lead at the end of the first quarter, but then second quarter, 21 points, 389 total yards for the Tigers tonight, 239 through the air, 150 on the ground, compared to 235 for A-State, 166 through the air, and only 69 on the ground. Tigers were 3 for 3 on fourth down tonight, 5 of 16 on third, 70 total plays. It comes out to roughly 5.5 yards of play, while Arkansas State ran 71 total plays with an average of 3.3 per play. When you look at Memphis, time of possession 35 minutes, 35 and a half, almost 24 and a half. And I mean, it definitely shows. 3 sacks for the Tigers tonight as well. But Seth Hennigan, 21 of 29, 239 passing, 72%. JT Stroud played, got injured. I think there's a little bit of a quarterback controversy in Jonesboro, Arkansas after tonight, to be honest with you. I'm just being for real. I mean, I think Daly's going to be your guy, probably moving forward. Cross is a nice little running back for Arkansas State. Little shifty, got some speed to him. This Memphis defense just shut them down, guys. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. Blake, what's your thoughts on this evening's game?
Yeah, I just like, I was just looking at the stats. I like how Memphis kind of spread the ball around to the receivers. There wasn't just one dominant person. That highest Dove had 52 yards, and that's your highest receiver. That means your quarterback spreading the ball around. So that's encouraging to see. But Hennigan, 21-29, you can't really complain on the road. Second game of the season, Memphis is looking pretty strong right now.
Yeah, so we talked about this some this past week. I think we fully expected Memphis to go into Arkansas State and handle business. And so now we're looking at an Arkansas State team that has played 2 games and has yet to score a touchdown in 2 games. They've kicked a field goal. So, Wes, there's a negative to y'all's season at Memphis. Y'all are the first team to allow Arkansas State to put up points this season.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought about that when the field goal went through, and it was good. just to be honest with you. But I mean, when you look at this Memphis defense, Ashton, I mean, they're flying around the field. They're having fun playing football. This is now the fifth consecutive in this series, the ninth all-time win in Jonesboro for Memphis, and it's the fourth road win for Memphis under Ryan Silverfield. And I will say this was the most dominating road win he has had out of the
Yes.
four.
And,
Out
and
of the four, he finished somebody off for the first time as a head coach. He finished the opponent off with what many may say was a classless touchdown as time expired by Hargrove, Mississippi State transfer. Speaking of the transfer portal, Mississippi State transfer tonight. But no, uh, Blake Watson, 51 yards rushing the ball. Reed Bauer tonight, guys.
yes, sir.
Six punts,
Killing it.
average a long of 50, average of 42 and a half,
Killing
two inside the 20. He
Yeah.
punted the ball 245 yards tonight.
255 yards.
I'm sorry, yeah, 255 yards.
Kicking the mess out of the football. Rebound. People overlook special teams. Rebauer right now for Memphis is a weapon to have.
Yep.
The kid's having a good year, and of course, not that we necessarily would need him in Fayetteville right now. I feel comfortable with the punter we have, but I'm telling you right now, Reed Bauer, going to the transfer portal, going over to Memphis, he's having a heck of a season. We're just 2 games in, and he's turned into a really good weapon for the Tigers. It was good to see that guys like in the passing game, Toski Dove, the Missouri transfer, Of course, it was only one pass, but 52-yard touchdown. Blake said that. Blankumsey had a good game last week. Wasn't so much the focus of this week. Only had one catch. So that's encouraging if you're a Tiger fan to know that your quarterback can spread the love to multiple different receivers. And then Blake Watson, not only was he in the run game, but he also got involved in the pass game as well with 4 catches. So just real well balanced offensive game for the Tigers. Hennigan, we've talked about it before. Hennigan, if he can just simply not do anything to hurt the team, Memphis is going to be successful. He's not a guy that's going to wow you with just too many yards, but he's also a guy that's not going to turn the ball over generally. So if he can just be the field general, manage the football team, Memphis will do just fine this season.
Oh, I agree 100%. And then, looking forward to moving forward, what's next for the Tigers? I mean, you've got Navy coming in Thursday night, opening conference play. The second of the 6 of the first-year head coaches on this Memphis schedule. Navy, I believe, lost again today, so I believe they are 0-2 coming in to Simmons Bank Memorial Stadium. Just so everybody knows that new name. Can't call it the Liberty Bowl anymore. You make people mad. So Tigers look good.
Yeah. And we'll add, just looking ahead, they play, they do play Navy Thursday, and it gives them some extra days to prepare for Missouri, who I can see Memphis beating Missouri. So,
man,
4-0.
That is one series that has not favored Memphis. If you look at it from a historical standpoint, that's also one game specifically this year that a lot of Memphis fans don't want. They're not happy about it because it should have been a home game for Memphis, and instead it's a quote unquote neutral site game in St. Louis, Missouri, against Missouri.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
That's
it's very similar to playing Texas A&M in Dallas, kind of.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Very, very, very similar.
That's Drinkwitz for you, though. I don't.
Oh yeah. Just real quick, guys, before we wrap it up. By the way, Katie Pate came on at the very beginning. Man, she's incredible. Brings a lot of energy, even though she didn't have any voice. She still brought a lot of energy. But she's incredible. We will definitely have her back on throughout the season to talk ball for sure. But guys, real quick, we've talked a little bit about Memphis week 3. We talked a little bit about Arkansas. What are some other topics? Who's on the hot seat? Who's not? Whatever it may be. thoughts real quick on what week 3 has to bring.
I just we saw in the SEC a lot of I would say struggle, even though some of the score, like the Georgia score, was it's what it was supposed to be, but in the first quarter, they were struggling against Ball State. They, like we said, the SEC as a whole is struggling right now. So hopefully next week they can get it together. So our SEC versus non-conference right now, we are not looking good. South Carolina lost, and LSU lost, and Alabama lost, and I'm sure I missed another one there. But I just want to see the SEC get back on track.
Yeah. As far as just football, as football goes for week 3, just early in the day, I couldn't help but think to myself watching some games that some of these teams in the top 25 just don't feel like top 25 teams.
Yeah.
Ohio State doesn't have the feel of a top 10 team. Now they have Marvin Harrison Jr., who has had back to back or going back to last season, something like that, of 150 plus receiving yards in consecutive games. I didn't feel like Utah looked like a top 15 team. One team that's I don't think is getting talked about enough that had a sneaky tough game today was Notre Dame playing against NC State. They went in there and they won by 3 touchdowns. I think it was 3 touchdowns. 21 points. So Notre Dame's not getting the love that they probably deserved, and it's probably because it's Notre Dame. It just seems like we naturally don't want to give Notre Dame the respect that they deserve. There's a team out of the Big 12 that I think is not getting any love either and is getting overlooked, and that's a sneaky good team at Kansas State.
Yes.
Will Howard at quarterback at Kansas State. That dude can play, and they beat down Troy today. And if you know as well as I do, we're talking about a team that is normally from good out of the Sun Belt. Troy is normally a good football program, and they got handled.
Well, who Kansas State's got next week, don't you?
Who do they have?
They got Missouri. Yep, they got Missouri next week. Yep. There's some very, very interesting matchups. What about a team that Katie Pate brought up earlier, and that's Wyoming, and they traveled down to Austin to take on Texas. You got Colorado State, Colorado. Very, very, very interesting rivalry matchup there.
Game day is going to be there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Game day is going to be there as well. Plus, you've got Tennessee, Florida. Tennessee travels down to Gainesville to take on Florida. Interesting, another interesting one, Georgia Tech and Ole Miss. There's a bunch of great games next week. But and can Arkansas State get a win against Stony Brook to possibly get off the schneid for Butch Jones? I mean, there's questions everywhere, guys.
I will say about Arkansas State real quick, and I think this is his problem, is he doesn't recruit the state of Arkansas. I
haven't just dug into their roster. I've been very curious on that too.
I know in the schools in the northeast part of the state, they don't even see the coaching staff walk into their schools. They do not recruit because they know all the top recruits are going to go to Arkansas or should.
Right.
But there's still some talent here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So, but I think, that might be, I'm not saying that is the problem, but it contributes to it.
Oh, no doubt. But guys, it's been a very exciting week too in college football. Tigers got a win out of Memphis. Razorbacks got a win up here in Fayetteville to kick off the season. They got some interesting matchups coming up next week. We'll be right back next week to talk about it all right here on Closing Time, College Football Edition, Week